Good evening, or afternoon, or morning, depending on where you're tuning in from today. We're live at Baden at the Curling Champions Tour at the first men's event of the season. Joining me today is national coach from the Netherlands, Sherry Leibrandt. Welcome, Sherry.
Hi, Al.
Our feature game today in this quarterfinal match will be the winner of Pool B, being the Thomas Ulsrud rink of Norway, current world champions. They finished their round-robin record at 4 wins, no losses, and they're playing Russian team, national men's team, Andrei Drozdov, who finished their round-robin in Pool A with a 3-1 record. We're just underway, as you see, with the lead stones, and we're looking forward to an exciting event to the start of this season. We're a little limited today in the booth. My Russian is not very good, and I think Sherry's Norwegian is probably about as good as my Russian, so we'll just have to make do as best we can.
I think we're pretty much on par there. We could probably communicate very well in English, but some of the other languages might have a little bit of struggle for us. But we'll try and keep our English slow so everybody can follow along.
Last stone in this first end belongs to the winners of the pool, so Team Ulsrud has last stone in the first end. And we're moving into the second's first stone, thrown by Christopher Sva of Norway, affectionately called Bumpy by his friends.
And the fans here in Baden have been treated by some really nice uniforms by Norway. It's kind of a trademark.
Yeah, they've continued with their trademark pants, and they've got some colorful yellow ones on here, some rather dazzling ones.
They have added some great shot making and some dazzle on the ice, not only with their pants this week for us.
Little bling out there. Thomas has chosen to guard his stone in the house. He, of course, could have drawn to the open side. Some of you might be wondering, but by going into the house, he ends up leaving his opposition with a number of opportunities to make a double takeout. So he's chosen to guard his stone. Drawing in the house is certainly a reasonable option too. Comes down to basically the team having a plan of what they want to do.
Ligger bra, ligger bra. Ligger fint. Torger, du kanskje måtte gå igjen.
We'll get you updated as we move along with the other games that are on the ice.
3. Nei, like langt. Ok, løs.
There's some really nice ice conditions here this weekend in Baden. Lots of nice curl all the way from the outside to the inside. So
Yeah,
you're taking ice outside of the house there, just getting up to a nice corner guard.
You can make any shot on this ice. Good work by our tour director, Armin Harder, and his crew have stepped up a notch to give the curlers top level ice right off the bat.
Went for the double there, but fortunately jammed it. Gives Thomas an opportunity. He has to do some thinking about what he's going to do now.
Thomas's big concern is that the team may be able to hit the yellow stone in the house and roll in behind the red one. But he's going to leave that for them and draw the open side.
Kunne dratt til forkant der, da. Ikke dra halvveis rundt.
And no changes this year to the World Championship team. They had a meeting over the summer deciding whether they want to continue another 4 years to try for the Olympics again in Korea. And they decided that they would do that. So same lineup as we saw last year at the World Championships in the hack Torder near guard.
Gjerne gå. Kjenn grei nå. 5, 6.
He has changed the plan here and chose to come around that guard. Probably freeze on his own.
Yeah, he probably waited for me to make the call and then he decided to change his mind.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
That's a nice shot.
Team Russia have a little bit of a different lineup. Their second is actually calling the game. Andrei Drozdov actually throws second stones. Third stone just throwing this bullet is Evgeny Arkhipov. And he's a magician. He's made them all disappear. That's probably Evgeny's bread and butter shot, is the high, hard one.
Absolutely. It's quite strategic when you start moving players around in throwing positions. Sometimes the skip with the guy with the strategy isn't necessarily the guy that's throwing that last rock. And teams are, so I think since the Furby 4, a little more open to moving around lineups and trying different combinations. And I think it's brought a whole new element to the game.
Yeah.
Some of the Swiss teams.
A lot of the teams are now experimenting with getting the player who best can read the ice and call the shots. No matter what throwing position they have, they can direct the strategy for the team. And certainly, although Russian curling history perhaps is a little shorter than some of the other countries here, Andrei Drozdov is probably the one with the most experience.
Ты что думаешь?
Его, в принципе, видно, его можно убрать, по большому счету.
Не-не-не, Лех, я боюсь, что здесь не завалит.
Не
так.
заваливает?
Я думаю, на большем весе он пройдет прямо.
Он стоит-то, в принципе, что может. Ну чего, а ты как думаешь?
They've had some pretty good consistent play over the last few years. They've come up through the B to the A, and when they got in there, they stayed there pretty solid. So
yeah, improving year by year. Yeah. I think they're getting more and more players, which is great for the sport.
A lot of growth throughout all of Eastern Europe. They're also hosting a tour event in Moscow, I believe.
Red Square, I think, had an event last year outdoor, and I think it was fairly chilly conditions, but I think the players enjoyed it for the most part.
Sit! Whoa! 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 Sit! Whoa! Sit! Whoa! 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 Whoa!
Throwing last stone, that was Alexei Stukowski. And he kind of took over that role about halfway through last year, just going into the Olympics. He had been throwing third stones, but just moving in toward the Olympic time last year in Sochi, they made him the fourth thrower, and that seems to be the way they're going to continue, at least for the foreseeable future.
I rull med isen, altså. Spiller boards, i hvert fall. Ja, men hvis Torgeir tenker kjapt, så blir det jo kjapt, for da har koster på det. Skulle mye og litt press, jeg ville holdt farta oppe. Torgeir, det ikke krise hvis den ruller!
These players from the Russian team have been together for quite some years now, but all in different rotations. I think every couple of years they change and rotate around, but the same 5 in the squad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the Russian Curling Federation has bought into the theory that it does take time to build a championship team, and I know for the first little while there was a lot of player changes, but I think they're pretty happy with these 4 guys they've got, or 5 guys that they've got, and they're going to let them attempt to grow into something.
And it seems to be working for them, becoming more solid, more competitive. They're qualified here in a really big event.
Yeah, they had a tough division. In their division was Team Canada, and they ended up beating Team Canada in the first game. And that was Team Laycock from Saskatoon. We're one of the top-ranked Canadian teams, so 3 teams finished tied for first place, and it came down to last shot draw to determine who was in and who was out. And Sven Mikkel from m.baden team ended up winning the pool, and the Russian team finished second, and unfortunately Laycock, even though it's the same record, finished third and is not in the playoffs.
Whoa, поднять!
Легко! Поднять! 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 Поднять!
Ulsrud will try and blank this out and maintain the hammer in the last end, or the next end coming back. Unless that rock is biting over there. Oh, I don't think so.
From our vantage point, using the mirrors over the sheet, it appears to be out of play. But then my eyes are getting more and more difficult to see as the years pass by.
I think there's a lot of wisdom behind those eyes, Al, so I think you're going to be okay.
I think I've said this before, but if you want to emulate a curling delivery, Thomas Ulsrud is a great one to copy. It's nice and simple, always square to the target, and very well balanced. So he does get the blank. The score is 0-0, nothing in play, and they'll move on to the second end. Norway will retain last stone advantage in the second end. Perhaps get you caught up a little bit on the other games going on. We have a pool winner, as I said earlier, Sven Mikkel with a 3-1 record, playing the B pool runner-up, country mate Mark Pfister from Bern, who also finished with a record of 3-1. Peter de Cruz was the winner of Pool C with a perfect 4-0 record, and they're taking on number 2 from Pool D, David Murdoch, who finished at 3-1. And the other final quarterfinal game is from Sweden, Niklas Edin. They were second in Pool C with a 3-1 record, and they're playing the winners of Pool D, Roman Rupp from Utzville in Switzerland, who also had a 3-1 record. So all these teams are either 3-1, and we have a couple of teams that are undefeated. And no score on the board for Mikkel Pfister game. That was blanked by Sven Mikkel, and they're moving to the second end. The other 2 games are in the final shots of the opening ends, and there's not a lot of stones in play, and it could be 4 blanks across the board here when we get to the end of this.
Fin linje. Ja, plass. Marisen er løs. Foreløpig har vi gått med plass. Vente, hvis vi kan. Linja er der nå. Linja er der, deres.
We got lead stones underway on our feature game here. Back on sheet 3 with Russia and Norway.
The Russians have taken the aggressive approach by putting a guard in play. They're not wanting Thomas to blank another end, so they're not going to run him up and down the sheet. They've thrown a guard. And Thomas also looking to be a little more aggressive in the even end, trying to get a 2 in the even end, has gone around that guard to a perfect position, top of the 8-foot.
8-10.
It's early in the season. These 2 teams have played each other quite some times, but it's early in the season, so they're exploring a little bit new strategies, a few things. We might see some little bit of cat and mouse going on out there.
This is the first tournament of the Olympic quadrennial. So teams are actually trying to build for Korea in 2018. And this is the first game, so there's a long way to go. So it's a good time to try some new things and see what might work, and perhaps establish some psychological advantage over some of the teams that you're going to be playing down the road to get into those Olympics. So lead Ulsrud Vlad Peterson calling his own ice there, asking for a little bit more from his skipper.
Rent! Rent! Bra fart! Rent! Litt opp, kanskje litt opp. Nære. 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 Ja, rull! Wow. Følg egen, så jeg tror den ruller langt. Wow.
He just rolls out there. It's a little bit unfortunate.
Players are giving us a great indication of the shots they're playing, so we don't even have to know what they're saying. See, he's taking about almost 2 meters of ice, just under 2 meters of ice. So there's lots of curl here.
Воу. 4 за. Воу. Сам пусть не дается. 4 за.
Здесь есть.
Легко.
Воу.
Легко. Воу. Только Жека.
Женя.
Побольше веса.
Женя.
Женя. Женя. Сип. Сип до конца, Жека.
They have a really nice break when they come right just past halfway. They just come straight across. It's a really nice, nice curl in the house. Quite often you see this on championship games, on Worlds, Europeans. So it's nice to be able to have this early in the season, this quality of ice.
It really makes speed control important.
And communication as well.
Yep.
If you miss that break point, you're not going to get it around.
You see, it was just hack weight, and they got the curl that they needed.
It's nice having the mics out on the ice there, so you can have the opportunity as viewers to hear a little bit of the communication that's going on in teams, and it's really important. They work really hard on those communication, getting that sweeping at the right time, at the right weight, and each team has their own system. Nice finish on that one as well. The margins are getting a little bit tighter each shot here. The amount of room you got to get around that.
This is basically the same shot they just played. So they should know exactly what it's going to do.
Hard!
Can update you on sheet 1. RUS has scored in the first end. 1 stone over Eden.
And that's the only score we have out there on the whole sheet of curling ice. 1 point.
A little bit more weight. That didn't finish up quite as well as he would have liked. It still moves the red back into third shot. So.
Колодка!
Хорошо, Катя, точно. Колодки это.
Жек, колодка 7, наверное.
60, 70. Похож, колодки!
Воу. Пока много. Воу.
Очень много.
Есть
Легко.
норма.
Сип.
Легко.
Сип. Линия, сип. Да, держать, держать. Сип. Да, до конца, да. Да.
Вытирай.
And a very nice touch on that one.
Great shot, great sweeping. And they've got that undercover. There's a guard out in front of the house. See where that guard is in front of the house, and you'll realize that this
Almost makes that second, wraps that second one.
the red stone is right behind that guard.
Nice replay there from our technical crew. Thank you very much for that.
There's a good picture. You'll see they've got that buried, and Thomas will have none of that. He's going to try and run the redstone straight back.
Hard. Hard. Fish. Sorry.
Didn't make contact with the one on the button, but he did get rid of the guard and his own that was in front that was covering up shot rock. So things are open. Corner guard in play. Still opportunity for Team Norway should this guard not be properly placed.
He did roll a guard over for a nice little corner there, so maybe that can come into play as well.
25, 26.
Линия норма.
26.
Линия норма.
Гард точно.
Петя.
Линия сам. Линия перевалит.
Линия норма.
Не надо,
Просто
Петя,
легко.
ты чё?
Просто легко.
25.
Легко.
Воу, нет. Сдать, стой.
Все, стой.
Стой. Curl der, hvis du spiller riktig fart. Ja, samme som svalspill. Prøver å komme til nesa, eller?
They're getting to the later stages of this end, so they have to decide whether they're going to get a little more aggressive and try and make some play or
You see that's right
run the
behind
top
the guard, but they think because of the amount of curl in the ice, perhaps with backline weight they can get to that one and move it off the button.
come around on the top of it.
Vi har ingenting. Syd. Ja, vi har ingenting.
It's really hanging out there.
Japp. Hjelper det. Bra satt.
Maybe just a fraction heavy.
Fint satt. Hæ?
Fick du доп, да?
Han åpner han, så jeg glir.
Сейчас очень хорошо брейн будет включать. Но это не меня тоже.
Well, Russia's got some nice rocks in play here now, so we're definitely going to get a score this end, I think, Al.
Мне всем кажется, что слабо.
It doesn't look like there's going to be a blank.
9.
9, не выше 9.
Под свое уже что было.
Жеки 0,7 было.
Окей.
Total purse this weekend is 31,000 Swiss francs. 11,000 Swiss francs will go to the winner, 7,000 to second place. Third and fourth will each share 3,500, and the losers of these quarterfinal games tonight will pocket 1,500 Swiss francs.
9-5 добавленный. Тилайн. Легко. Тилайн 4 до, отличный вес.
В линии пока
Нет
многовато.
линии. Поднять.
Teams that do extensive traveling
Поднять.
around Europe and to North America for tournaments may spend up to 100,000, maybe 120,000 every year. So it feels good to pocket a little bit of money if you can to start the year out, start to cover some of those expenses. Most of these teams now have significant sponsors, or some are funded by their own sport organizations.
They're the fortunate ones. And some of these teams are out there just making it on their own, getting by and getting
There's
into
some
the
teams
events.
out here that have no funding whatsoever. Although on the ice, I would say probably
One.
there might just be one team out there that doesn't have any funding. And that would probably be the Roman Rook team on sheet A. I believe every other team will get some funding from their sport organizations.
Curling being a top Olympic sport, there's certainly a lot more competitiveness. It's a full-time, full-year sport.
Yeah, a lot of these players either reduce their workload or eliminate it completely during the winter months so that they can spend more time curling, and of course that takes a sympathetic employer.
And a very supportive family.
And a supportive family, no doubt.
So for all those families watching, thank you very much for sharing all your partners here and your dads with all of us curling supporters and fans.
Midt på 12.
So this is bread and butter of a good skip. He's going to throw this on a draw there. Finding the forefoot is something most skips need to do eventually if they're going to be successful.
If you don't enjoy the challenge of drawing the forefoot, you don't skip. As we said, if you can't draw, you can't skip.
Or throw a different position.
Bra utfall, den perfekte rullen er selvfølgelig bra.
Så vi slår, ja, Torgeir!
Så den skal gå på sette den.
He's going to have a bit of input and maybe change some decisions here with the support of his front end. These guys know each other a lot, so they've got their routines on how they add communication, add information.
Yeah, now he's going to play a hit and try to roll behind. He's going to hit the stone on the side of the forefoot and try and roll behind the two red stones.
Rent! Rent! Rent!
Pretty well done, but game of millimeters, and I believe
Just going a little bit out the other side there, Al.
I believe Team Russia can probably see half of that stone peeking out the other side there.
Или сильный? Не сильный, точно не сильным. Давай средний. Не уверен в среднем, как пойдет.
So before they throw the stone, they'll have to really decide on what speed they're playing. They may just play fast and try and pick it out and roll the shooter away, which looks like what they're going to do. And of course, the faster they play it, the straighter the stone goes down the ice, and it may be a little easier to read, but it requires precision by the thrower. If he makes any inward or outward motion, there's not a lot sweeping can do to help it.
For this Rockets an update over on sheet 2. Michelle has scored 2 in the second end, taking the lead in that game. Over Pfister.
Легко! Лоу! Легко! Поднять!
Давай, Дрозд.
Mission accomplished on our sheet. Thomas Ulsrud will be forced, which is exactly what Team Drozdov was trying to do, force Ulsrud to take one so that they could have Lastrok in the following end and try and get a 2. So they have forced him to draw the forefoot for his point. And even though we're skipped, we expect the skip to do that. It's certainly not a gimme. This is one that Team Ulsrud would probably make 85% of the time. All these top teams, when they get to play in events and where there's full statistics kept, you usually find the teams at the top somewhere between 85 and 90% successful shooting.
Sweepers having to work a little bit. work a little bit for him, but he puts it exactly where he needs to put it and takes a piece of the forefoot.
Good work by the brushers. Thomas will take all the credit for that shot, but it was made by the brushers.
I guess when he misses, he has to take all the crap for it too, so I guess this is an opportunity for him to take a little bit of credit.
Well, we got a second here. Sherry, I understand you're the director of the junior portion of the Curling Champions Tour. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the European Junior Curling Tour, we've got quite a few events on the agenda these days. It's been building and building. There's now a new event coming to Geneva, so there'll be 2 events in Switzerland this year.
How many countries involved there?
Hosting events or playing?
Playing.
Playing. Most events end up with 4 or 5 different nations in each event. One event had 6 nations participating. Most events have boys and girls, junior boys and junior girls events. Many are 6. Some are 6 teams of each, some are 12 teams of each, depending on ice facilities and capacity. Austria is a new event this year, and they're going to be hosting 8 men's teams.
Great
Scotland.
Opportunity for the youth to travel around Europe and
It's a really
see
great
what curling
opportunity.
is going on in all the other countries.
Yeah, it's meeting international teams is really great, and it's also creating an opportunity for kids to experience competitive play. They play the draw shots just like they do at these events. They have umpires on the ice. Some of them have worked with the time clock, so the kids have the opportunity to play with that as well. Creating a competition event before they get to the junior worlds or the junior challenges. It gives an opportunity for coaches to also interact with teams during these events. We also have 2 timeouts, creating a competitive opportunity.
Can't be anything bad about any of that. That's great for our sport to build such a strong junior program, international junior program, and it gives them, I think, all the coaches, international coaches, a little bit better measuring stick about where they stand and what it is they need to work on to get these young juniors up to the level that we're seeing today on the ice.
Many of the players we're seeing out on the ice there this weekend have come up through those junior tour ranks, junior tour events.
Yep.
These Russian guys have played on junior tour events for the last few years before they aged out of junior. So it is creating a competitive environment before they get to that men's field.
Yeah, and once they get there, it's not also brand new to them, I guess. You know, they have the experience of playing internationally, the experience of playing against some of these other players, and they can step right in.
Well, most of our hosts are also creating really nice ice conditions, so they're getting competition ice, kind of the same type of standards of that they will be meeting at the Worlds. And not all countries have the opportunities. Canada, for example, doesn't have the opportunity to play. All the other nations, so they go out on the ice at the Worlds, and all of a sudden there's all these different languages where all the European junior teams are familiar with each other. It gives them a good comfort zone, and you see the European teams excelling a lot more at Junior World Championships, and I think that's part of it. Is that environment we've created to compete. We hope to do a little bit more partnership with Canadian junior tours and American tours, and start interacting them a little bit more in the next coming years.
Yeah, I think curling is one of those sports that's really helping shrink the world.
Absolutely.
In a good way. I believe there's 46 countries now, or so in the World Curling Federation.
52.
52 up to.
52 nations in the World Curling Federation. For the first time ever, a team from Israel will actually be competing in the C event.
Wow.
In Zoetermeer, Netherlands, in October. They've entered a men's team.
It's amazing going to some of these events, and all the flags, of course, are hung up around the arena, and I think all the curlers should be required to have a little test of how many they can name. I know I look at someone and I shake my head. I realize I don't know all the flags of all these nations. But I'm learning.
You're now the, you've been in the technical director for Swiss curling here for a while now. How are you enjoying your work over here in Europe?
It's an adventure to me. This is my 4th year over here. I'm living in Bern, so it's a little bit different culture than Canada. I mean, it's not far different, but it's different enough that it's exciting. Traveling around Europe to different locations, of course, getting to see all these teams that I used to see once a year at World Championships. And also getting to work with the curlers. I found the curlers have been great at accepting input. I'm just really enjoying it.
Excellent. Well, with so many Swiss teams out on the ice right now, I think your input has been very valuable for them as well.
Yeah, we managed to get one from each pool qualified. There's two qualified of each pool, and we had one Swiss team in each pool. Unfortunately, we've got 2 of them playing against each other, which means at least one of them will be in the semifinals anyway. But we're trying to build a base of more and more quality teams. I think my philosophy is the more good teams you can build, then they will create the environment on their own to get better. They will have to get better in order to beat their counterparts.
You see that benefiting the juniors as well. This last year, the winner of both the junior men's and the junior women's tour events were both Swiss teams.
Yeah, we've had actually a lot of juniors.
Success.
I do some work with the juniors, but kudos to Marco Battiana for coordinating the junior program here. He took over a couple of years ago, and his work has really paid dividends.
Team Brunner participated this weekend. I think that's pretty good success. They won a couple games. They were the junior tour and winner from last season. And one of the things that the junior winner wins is an opportunity to play at the men's events. And it's a great opportunity for them to step up to that next environment.
Yeah, and they were competitive in every game. As you say, they won a couple, and with a little luck, could have been out there tonight playing in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, so congratulations to that team for their hard work. So this end looks to be going a little bit better in Thomas's way here.
Yeah, he started again with a guard, and you probably noticed that Russians try to get around it, and Thomas has got the better of the play, and he's now in a position where he's hitting 3 stones and throwing. So he'll have an opportunity to put a guard on his stone at the back of the forefoot and try and make it as difficult as he can for Russia to score. Didn't go into this end really trying to steal. He went into this end trying to force the Russians to take one so that he could have last stone advantage in the 4th end. He may start thinking about steal once he gets to his own stones, if the situation presents itself. And that guard's curled a little more and a little longer than probably what Thomas would like. And with the curl on this ice, he's left an opportunity for Team Drozdov and Evgeny Archipov to possibly get around and in behind and cover.
Чуть выше колодки. Поднять. Мало вращения.
Mentioned earlier in the broadcast that Team Ulsrud is back with the same squad. Over on sheet 1, we have Nicholas Eden from Sweden, who's out there with a new combination this season.
Yeah, Nicholas' team kind of disbanded at the end of last year. And Nicholas is actually joined up, I guess, with Oscar Eriksson's silver medalist from the Worlds. And 3 of Oscar's team have continued on, and Nicholas has taken over the skipping duties there. So that should be a strong team too moving forward.
Absolutely, that's the team that would represent Sweden at the Worlds this past season.
And took home the silver medal.
Yeah, so.
And I believe they know each other pretty well. In Sweden, they have a system where they basically have a curling academy where all the funded players live and stay. And both Nicholas's former team and Oscar's team have been part of that for a number of years. So they, I'm sure, know each other very, very well.
Oscar's been the alternate in that squad that Nicholas had his Eden squad for, I think, four big events. So they'll have a lot of similar systems and know each other in communication sense quite well. And it's obviously working quite well for them so early in the stage of their joining up. They're already qualified for the first big event and having some success. So a really beautiful double there by Nicholas Eden. We don't get to see that, but
back to our game, there was a little bit of discussion about whether they should be playing a draw or a takeout. Perhaps trying to bring that stone over on the side into play. I think they've elected to try and make the double takeout. And if they get a half miss from Team Ulsrud, they might be able to bring that stone into play.
Yeah, another
shot.
Nice roll. Now they're sitting first and third. Really good action from the sweepers there to get ready on the rocks.
Helt klart bedre vinkel som å ligge her, da. Jeg synes outdown ser best ut, men opp til...
Ja, greit. Vi kan prøve outdown, da. Må du oppføre deg sånn det der. Ja, jeg skal gjøre det. Men da, den forrige til Torgeir, jeg var veldig... Eller den til Sva.
These games are not timed and there are not officials on the ice. But the players, by and large, keep the game moving at a pretty good pace.
So Ulsrud's decided to draw around the side that doesn't have the red rock showing at the back there, as you'll see here in a moment. He's going to try and force Rush to play on them. He can get a little more buried and hopefully he gets a little bit of jam out of it. If Rush has to play him.
He might know the spot in the ice a little better, might be a little more comfortable than having to go out too far wide. He might feel that if he goes out on the other side, he might be getting into ice that's a little unknown and maybe not played on. So
we're playing the advantage of
that one appeared that it caught some debris halfway down, and the handle's not really turning much, and the speed has come right off it.
Got something under it.
Jeg mener han har, altså. Au. Ja, han for den skjærer også, sikkert.
Right about there, they've kind of given up on it now.
Ну, плюс оно очень сильно. Насколько сильно? Крутил.
И у него стал вот сюда.
Well, the Russians have a decision to make here. They could try and come between those two yellow stones and hit the other yellow one, which would, if they hit it properly, to leave them sitting 3 and bring that red stone into play at the back. However, they decided not to do that, and they're going to play a same draw that Thomas was trying to make and close that off and perhaps set up a 3 of their own if they can get this one to the top of the forefoot. Alexei Stalkowski throwing 4 stones.
До Тилайн надо! Легко! Сам вес! Плюс! Можно поднять! Поднять! Силайн, 4
Легко,
за.
легко.
Воу,
Вес. Воу, поднять, поднять.
Вес сам.
Силайн, ждать.
Теплюс.
Ждать.
Нет, теплюс.
Ждать до конца.
Нет, теплюс.
Ждать до конца. Ждать. Все.
Really nice
Хорош.
execution.
That's kind of where they pictured it when they set up the shot.
It's pretty much where Thomas wanted to go.
That's pretty much where Thomas would like to have been.
Okay.
And that's forced Thomas the wide in turn that he chose not to do the first time. Can't see enough of that red stone to throw any takeout weight at it.
Ikke sikker vi får shot.
His option is to come between the two yellow ones and promote his own yellow, or draw wide around the outside of the left stone there. But to do that, he's, I guess, a little concerned that he'd have to go out onto fresh ice way out there on the side. So he's not really sure what it's going to be for speed.
Vi satser på at vi får bunnen på slutten.
He's definitely a little bit of bother anyway.
Det er første omgang, er det ikke? Ja.
I think Torger favors the draw, and he seems to have talked Thomas into that. This will curl enough if it gets by that yellow guard. It will curl enough to get to that red one if he's got the right speed. And he's got the right line.
Og hvis han har riktig fart, så vil han ikke ha kørt så mye
It
riktig
requires
enn
some really great communication on its way down, that's for sure.
Altså, jeg mener, hvis du går i garden der, så hadde vi kørt over allikevel.
Den der jeg hadde når jeg garda i første gang. Ja. Litt mindre, kanskje. Ja. Så bra is.
Ja, der vi stoppet med garden var jo litt lenger ut.
Ja. Det var mer is. Men hva er det
I don't think Thomas has said in his mind
Det du spilte på siste her, vi
this
hadde
is the
samme
right
spor
shot.
omtrent
There's still
med
lots of discussion at the hack.
Snepp mindre!
Taking a little less ice.
Because it curls over so hard, the weight is sometimes a little bit hard to judge for sweepers or for the thrower. They have to wait long enough, they have to throw it hard enough that it has speed to cross over and curl so far. But at the same time,
Yeah, they're hoping to hold it straight for a while out there and then try and get that big curl at the end.
Kommer seg!
It's pretty good.
Hva med Sva?
Nei.
Perhaps a little heavy. And that was the danger
Linja er fin.
going out into that ice. He really wasn't sure of the speed out there, and the pebble's fresh. And sometimes when the pebble's nice and fresh like that, this ice is clipped. The top of the pebble is taken off before the game starts. And you get on fresh pebble, and it's actually the fastest spot in the ice. And as a skip, Thomas always wants to throw a draw shot where the sweepers have to work a little bit to get the stone in the right place, and you notice they didn't brush that one at all.
sweeping is an incredible element of this game, the physical fitness these guys are in order to take rocks and work some rocks. You'll see some really great sweeping in this game. These guys are both, these teams are both really accurate with that. They spend a lot of time in the gym.
Yeah, a lot of these top teams too, they have personal trainers with their own personal fitness routines, and depending whether you're a front-end brusher or a skip, you'll have different routines, and they do spend a lot of time in the gym, especially in the off-season, to make changes to their body, but even during the season, they're probably 4 times a week in the gym.
Пока больше чуть. Пока чуть больше.
Да, можно ждать.
Вес.
Пошел садиться.
Big Peter drone there.
Только вес,
And,
только вес.
4 фута, ребята.
Arkhipov guiding this one in.
Линия супер.
Сам не трогать. Трогать нельзя. Нельзя трогать.
Все, отлично.
Нельзя трогать.
It looks pretty good.
He's made a nice shot there for 3.
There's a 3 spot for Drozdov against Ulsrud, and that might be the first time this week that Ulsrud's been down a couple of points. So unfortunately, one stone that caught some debris for Ulsrud turned into a 3-ender for Russia, but give Russia credit, they didn't. They took full advantage and didn't miss anything after that mistake by Team Norway.
Just going to update you on these. You did a little bit of an overview of all the other sheets there. Over on sheet 1, you've got RUS and m.baden.
Here you can see the score. RUS have got one in the first end and stole one.
And Shell has blanked the third, but definitely not going to be a blank coming up in the next end.
Here's the two Swiss teams. Early blanks, as we said. Sven Mikkel got his 2 in the second end and has held Pfister to 1 in the third, and they're playing the fourth as well. 2-1 for Mikkel over Pfister. There's our feature game. We just saw the 3-ender. They haven't put it up on the board yet, but it's 3-1 for Russia over Norway. And the final quarterfinal. Defensive start, blanked the first 2 ends, and then Team Murdoch actually stole a point in the third end to take a little mini control in that game over Team De Cruz. And they're just getting going in the fourth end. So nothing settled out there yet. With that 3-ender, Team Drozdov actually taking control of their game. A 2-up lead is considered control. And now Thomas will be going out of his way to get rocks in play to try and set up a 2 to tie this game up. And he's probably not a happy camper right now with that stone that caught some debris last end.
No, but these teams have a lot of mental toughness. You got to turn that off and get your mind forward to the next one. They'll be doing
Thomas
everything
is one of the real veterans of the World Curling Tour and the Champions Tour. And he's been in many World and Olympic Games, and he certainly knows how to refocus after a setback.
After this.
Ja.
One of the benefits of the junior tour, kids that are now getting the opportunity to play competitive events more consistently. We've got 6 tour events, junior tour events on in the season for them to participate in, so they get the opportunity to play that competition and have those misses and those unfortunate experiences, and then turn it around and gain from it and attack it on the next one. So.
Nice shot by long-time lead, Albert Pedersen.
Ты хочешь так сыграть?
Не. Выбить его клиром можно?
Клиром просто убираешь и все.
Да.
Си до конца!
Skip Andre Drozdov playing second stones, trying to make some granite disappear. He does that very well. However, now the 4-foot is open, which gives Team Ulsrud a lot more of the house to score in.
Bolang! Vær med, ja! Linje! Ja! Linje! Ja, ikke mist den da!
It's always interesting to hear the conversations in the background here. I think you can decide world peace in the background of a curling rink.
You could certainly have a United Nations meeting with nations represented here.
Teams from Germany, Switzerland, Czech Republic, Scotland, Sweden, Latvia, Netherlands, Canada, Spain, Russia.
And Denmark.
And Denmark. So a very
And
international
Netherlands.
event.
So we got everybody, all the important ones covered. Sorry if
Absolutely.
your country wasn't mentioned there, but
Yeah, a lot of young, really strong teams coming out of the field here.
this stone is a little better undercover. The first one actually curled around that guard and stuck out the other side. And the guard is long enough that you can probably get to that stone with quiet takeout weight, no matter where Thomas tries to hide it.
Just called it just a bit tap back way. Just gonna try and come around that.
Пойдет, у них там дроха валит дико. Вам не выше, меньше, пришел гад.
It's quite an interesting dynamic with curling. The thrower, you'll often see the thrower communicating with the sweepers, just really get good clarity of what that rock's going to do and what the expectation is. It's really important that sweepers know what their job is on taking that rock down the other end.
They're working as hard to try and get it by the guard. And they didn't. Now Thomas has a decision to make. If he draws to the open side, he's basically going for it two-ended. But by choosing to go around the center guard, he's thinking perhaps a 3 is in play. If he gets this stone behind the guard, he's hoping that the Russians will hit the open one, and then he'll bring another one in behind the guard and hope the run back can't be made. Well done.
Very nice execution. He's created himself some opportunities. Rush is going to eliminate the sure shot. And it's sitting a little
taking
more
the open
open.
one, they could try the run back. A little more courage needed to do that, because if they ever miss the run back, then they're going to have
definitely
3
looking at
stones
3.
set wide across the house. So they're going to take the sure shot and hope to roll over closer to the 1 1/4 foot and set up a double, perhaps on the last 2 shots. Very well done.
Gul sitter! Den! Nå drev vi så tynt du vil.
They got a
Myk!
really beautiful roll out of that.
Yeah, he's hoping that
Myk bant! Eller her!
somewhere they'll get a double or perhaps a half a mistake from Team Ulsrud. Thomas is going to attempt to make a play on that one and roll back onto the side.
Kom igjen. Tror ikke det, altså. Nei. Jeg tror vi må gjøre den. Mye lavere er den da. Takk. Rent. Rent.
Hekk pluss!
Nære.
Hekk pluss!
Nære.
Hekk pluss!
Wow, helt vekk. Vær med. Stopp.
They're not curling like they expected.
Get that weight up a little bit, and it just doesn't come, does it?
Yep. It's critical for these players to really understand what weight they're playing. If you throw it just a little bit harder than what the skip is putting the ice for, it just won't curl that much.
Are they going to play the run back? They're going to try and hit that right on the nose. And
Looks like that's the choice. He's probably got about 6 or 7 centimeters on the front stone that he could hit and still make contact with the back one. He'd like to stick it, I think. Straight back would be just about perfect.
Sit! Sit! Sit!
Mechanics from
Sit!
fourth thrower Alexei Stalkowski.
really well swept.
You'll probably see Team Ulsrud just ignore all those red stones and make a draw, trying to score his 2 points.
He's going to take advantage of that red rock that stayed up in front there. Use it as a nice guard.
Yeah, he'd like to get this one right back to the tee line so there's as much separation as possible between the stone in front of the house and the one that he's throwing now. But he doesn't really want to slip behind the tee line because then Team Drozdov could just freeze on it.
Bra linje, via! Håvard, du må gå på slutten. Du vet, du må begynne å gå nå, du må gå nå, du må gå nå.
Just breaks, they'll probably get on it.
Kom igjen da, vi må
Bury
helt
it
etter sånn. Kjør! Kjør! Hardar, helt ned på T-line. Helt ned på T-line, kom igjen, Hardar.
Well done.
Just about as good as he could do.
Forces Russia to play another run back.
Force them played another run back, but they're playing it in a spot they just played. And I'd be very surprised if Stalkowski is very, very close to making this one. He'd like to hit this one right on the nose and leave his red stone right at the top of the forefoot, which will make Ulsrud's draw just a little bit tougher.
Whoa! Sit! Whoa! Sit! Sit! Whoa! 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 Oh! Again!
And you maybe saw just when he released that, he gave that a little bit inward to outward motion, and it didn't curl. I don't know if the boys have a replay of that one.
It is really a fine touch with curling rocks.
But it doesn't take much action with your hand, and when you throw them that fast and put a little bit of outward motion on them, they don't come back.
This is a straight draw for two. Definitely wants to take
the same
advantage
shot
of
he
this
just threw. Sweepers have backed off a little bit, not even keeping it clean. Just seem to think it's maybe a little heavy.
On his own.
It's slowed down enough, and he's got his 2, and he's tied this game up. Well, that was a lot of patience by Team Ulsrud to finally get the opportunity to put some stones in a position that put a little bit of pressure on Team Drozdov, and they got the miss they were looking for. They tied this game at 3-3 at the halfway point.
I can update you a little on some scores out there. Over on sheet 1.
Well, we got this, sorry, Sari, but while we got this camera on right here, Team Murdoch is in a pile of trouble against Team De Cruz without last stone. There's 1 left each, and I believe Ulsrud's already sitting, or pardon me, De Cruz is already sitting 4. Updating our other games, Nicholas Adine took 3 in the 4th end. to jump into the lead of that game over Roman Root, 3-2. Sven Mikkel's maintained his 2-point lead, scoring just a single in the fourth end. And they're just underway in the fifth. There's our feature game, all tied up at 3-3. And the other quarterfinal game, we're just 2 rocks to come in the fourth end, and
long discussion here to make a decision on what we're going to play.
I'm not sure exactly what Murdoch's calling. I believe he's trying to freeze a couple of stones in the forefoot. You'll see he's in big trouble there looking at 4 stones. This is his last, 5. And Team de Cruz still has 1 to come. So this could be a game shot right here. A little bonus coverage for you.
And it looks like he's going to try and just freeze right on that center rock. The yellow one sitting on the dolly.
25!
Are working pretty hard to keep the line. Get speed.
He's come up light, and I believe
it's going to be a draw for 6.
I believe this is a draw for 6 is right.
Head on it.
Nice problem to have. They're trying to determine which direction to come.
And it seems to be a luxury, but it is actually quite a bit of a pressure shot, because your expectation to get a chance to have 6 doesn't come around very often at this level of play.
Especially against the current bronze medalist from the Olympics. Yeah. You don't expect that you're going to be putting a 6 on the board against that team.
So a little bit of the extra discussion is going to have been just trying to settle your nerves, make sure you're everybody's on board. But Benoit Schwartz here is a great thrower. He's been an alternate for the Sven Michel at the Olympics as well. He's got a lot of games experience.
We've got the bronze medalist from the Olympics playing the bronze medalist from the Worlds right here. This Team de Cruz were the bronze medal winners at last year's World Championship in Beijing. Guys are just keeping it clean. He's got lots of stones to rattle around in on the forefoot. And there it is. That's even more than a handful.
Count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll get back to our feature game here.
That's probably the end of the tournament right there, at least for both teams, 1 in a negative way and 1 in a positive. Back to our game, we're into second stones. Second's first stone for Team Ulsrud. You'll see he did play some guards out there, and Team Drozdov has gone around those stones in pretty good position in front of the tee line, top of the 8-foot. And Team Ulsrud's trying to defend that by getting behind them.
He's just gone a little bit too deep there.
Unfortunately, he has gone deep. I believe it shot stone, but
that
one probably won't be counting at all by the end of this end. As we say, stones behind the tee line. Pretty hard to make them better.
Had a lot of fans here at the Baden Regio curling club this week. The stands here have been full pretty much every weekend. You hardly find a seat.
I guess
really great to see all the locals.
I guess they're all hungry to start another curling season.
Absolutely.
Вес сам норма, 4 за там.
Ждать!
4 за.
Ждать!
Switzerland is one of the largest curling nations in Europe. There's 8,000 curlers, but there's actually about 40 curling halls in the country. Anywhere from 2 sheets up to 8, and some brand new ones being a brand new one just opening up in Geneva. I should be going there in a couple of weeks, and a brand new one under construction in Biel, 8 sheets of ice, I believe. And that one probably will open at the beginning of next season.
Excellent. Geneva's going to be hosting one of our Junior Tour events this year.
Linja samme, hold rent, hold rent! Vær med!
Premium event that we're really excited to be on board with. So
Mer plass enn forrige!
we're really happy to have that facility opening in Geneva as well.
Drag. Ikke et drag.
In fact, Peter de Croo is the manager of the new club and has done a lot of work in helping them with the design to make sure that they have every conceivable state-of-the-art thing that they need there.
Почти тот же вес, 4 фута.
The Russian threw one in there, also came a little bit deep.
Нету линии, нету
And Norway
линии.
put one on top, froze it on top.
Надо вес. Нет, есть вес.
Still some room
Цик
to
линия.
Цик! Только вес! Вес 4 фута!
take away the top of the 4 foot there.
Вес, 4
Team Ulsrud will be trying to close down the scoring area by piling stones into the 4 foot. And Team Drozdov is happy to play along in that game, hoping to pile their own stones into the 4 foot.
Rød shot.
And because
Smell, du kan
Team Ulsrud slipped a little too deep with theirs, they
bare de to røde, da.
have left the advantage to Team Drozdov at this point. So Thomas having a real good look at this, and he's not just figuring out what to do now, he's trying to think 3, 4, and 5 shots down the road about what it might possibly look like. So he's playing the game. If we do this, they'll do that, then we'll do this, then they'll do that. Trying to figure out how he can get out of this and perhaps make sure that they only get one. So Torger's come down to lend a hand here.
Og piler du clean, så må han fryse på nytt. Jo, sett han i hack.
Yeah, sometimes it's not about the only shot that you see on the screen. It's a shot that is going to come after. Anticipating what your opponent's going to do, what you're going to leave them, what opportunities you're going to create or take away.
Hvordan er alle dager skal han gjøre det? Han blir jo dratt rett. Den går.
Thomas will be happy to force one here, so he doesn't necessarily have to get shot rocked, but he has to take the scoring zone away, so Russia can't get in for 2 points. That's what
Sometimes I think teams forget that you don't necessarily have to be shot stone all the time. You just have to make it difficult for your opponent to be sitting two. So Team Drozdov has one in there right now, and Thomas is trying to make sure that's the only one they get in there.
You just notice Norway just changed brooms there.
For guide litt over.
That you can do in the game if the brooms are available to you. Different surfaces on the brooms. Some have a nylon surface and others have a bit of a hair surface, a little bit rougher.
Yeah, a lot of the teams now have a hair surface which they feel gets in between the pebble a little better to clean. So sometimes they'll put that in front. This one hasn't had any brushing at all. It's gone a little deeper than they wanted.
It still takes up the control of the 4 foot there, so the scoring zone for Russia is a little smaller.
Now it's the Russians' turn to start to do the what-if guessing game going ahead. And it looks like they're going to have a little conference as well.
In tour events, there's no opportunity to call a timeout and get your coach out there, like you would see at the Worlds or Olympics, Europeans.
Yeah, a lot of the coaches are here. You look behind the glass of all these sheets, there's almost a camera videoing all the games. Coaches sitting behind, making notes or using some software. and they'll be discussing after the game what went right, what went wrong, how can we improve the things that didn't go well, and how can we continue to do the things that did.
If you're just tuning in, you're joining us at the Champions Curling Tour. And we're in Baden, Switzerland. The first tour event of the season. The Baden Masters. Watching the quarterfinals.
Some of the notable teams that perhaps didn't make the playoffs, obviously the first one would have been Team Canada, Stephen Laycock, who tied for first place in their pool, but as a result of a tiebreaker process ended up with third. Tom Brewster from Scotland with a new team did not qualify in his pool. Those are probably the two biggest names. We had also Yuri Schnitzel from Czech Republic. And Rasmus Stjerna from Denmark, also with two new players on his team. So there's a lot of player switches this year after the end of last Olympic cycle and the start of a brand new Olympic cycle, ending with the 2018 Olympics in Korea.
It also come here for.
So that didn't quite work out for Russia there.
Ja, det kan han.
Opportunity now for Ulsrud, Team Norway, to perhaps promote their stone a little bit and slightly tap the stone on the button and perhaps even be shot. I don't think they're too concerned with being shot. I think they're concerned more with getting the angle just right on the front yellow one.
Not leaving any opportunity for a double there.
Se grei ut nå!
Jeg løser.
Det ligger her ute, så. Det ligger ute i det glatteste. Ligger ute i det glatteste år.
Vi har 8 nå.
Vi kommer til å kysse ut.
Hva skal gjøre?
Hva skal vi gjøre da? Ok.
Greit det.
I don't think that's quite the angle he was looking for, but
I think he was looking for a straight-on angle, and I think now he's perhaps left an opportunity to, if they can get to the inside of the Yellowstone, just at the 2 o'clock position there as we look at it, they might be able to make a double takeout and sit a couple of reds lined up on the back yellow.
Nei, det er jeg klar over.
Det er så jævlig late finish, da, så de som kostes blir hengende og sånn.
Det er for den proen.
he'll definitely want to keep his shooter and play there.
So deciding on the correct speed will be important on this shot.
Må jo bare fryse på oss, så må jeg gøre det. Ja.
There is a guard up by the hog line that's straddling the center line that might be just closing off a wee piece of the inside of that yellow.
Lappe til da.
Двойной ты здесь не пройдешь. Если ты попадаешь даже тонко, он идет сюда.
Seems to be quite
Отходит
open.
так, а этот уходит сюда. Мы не выйдем два. Но если только совсем между ними
I'm trying to figure out where all the stones are going to go if he throws a high hard one down there.
Вот сюда, вот этот совсем сильный. И то в тот пойдет. Вот это можно сделать.
Давай так.
Да.
Мы здесь уже кидали.
Слабый?
Слабый, да.
It's definitely the shooter in this Russian team you want throwing this rock if you're going to throw a hard one down there, because he can execute these quite well.
Yeah, I think Yevgeny loves to throw.
Looks like by the ice there, they've chosen not to throw
I don't think he'd be throwing
really
it.
big weight.
Sip! 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 Da 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 sip! Sip!
Really working.
Da 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 da! Sip! Whoa!
Whoa!
Whoa! Whoa!
And that's not a bad outcome.
Not
Unfortunately,
bad,
it leaves
but
open the button there.
didn't
for
work
Thomas.
quite the way they're looking at it. They've left the button open. They wanted to actually keep their shooter red rock a little more in front of the button. And you'll see it actually rolls up a bit,
Limen på, det er ikke noe alternativ.
spins over mostly across the center
Han kan
line.
tappe ut her, skjønner du.
Thomas can freeze one right on the button, and it's going to take a small crate of dynamite to get it out of there.
A lot of rocks in play down that central line, isn't there?
Skal gi dere et fryktelig fint emne. Det er ikke blitt noe treigere nå enn jeg dro bitte litt langt
Russians
der
actually
forrige gang,
taking
gjorde
a
det?
look at that lineup of
Ganske fint.
yellow,
siste stand
red,
dro du jo
red,
hit,
red
Ja, det var akkurat
into
det, ikke sant?
to the button, just in case they might need to try that.
I think the way it curls, you could actually probably get down to the top of that yellow one sitting on the forefoot.
Å vite tidlig hvordan han ligger.
The backline weight.
Jumpa, blitt
Tap
der ute,
back.
men samtidig så stikker han av tidlig, så stikker han av tidlig. Det er ikke bra det heller.
Vinn løs, og så kan vi skråfryse i front, det er kanskje greit.
Limen får vite. Han får bra emne.
Ulsrud's had the opportunity to play this line a little bit. He shouldn't get this wrong.
Helt sikker på fart!
Hva
The
med?
sweepers are relatively heavy with it and start sweeping it right away.
Wow! Vi må! Jeg er helt ned og bumper litt. Skal ned og kysse litt. Wow! Kan ingenting ennå.
Nei!
Ingenting ennå. Ja.
Very nicely done. You can see the precision of the execution and the level of these teams out here this week.
Just guys. Not big. Peel.
Big finish on this one. We'll have to close in on that center line right at the end.
Ну а что нам делать? Что нам еще делать?
Ничего, нам надо выковыривать его отсюда. Тут же есть расстояние между,
Just
Yes, yes,
by the
one.
one at the top of the forefoot.
The job of the person standing in the house watching that line come down is to judge the line effectively so we can communicate with the sweepers.
I think the
Sweepers can
Russians
communicate the weight, and the two got to work in tandem in order to get the right execution on a shot like that.
Yep, there's communication from the brushers about the speed, exact speed, not just the general speed, but the exact speed. And leave it up to the person in the house to let them know what the line's like. So Alexei Stalkowski has got nothing else but to try and hit this rock very thinly and pick it clean through the hole. So he's looking at maybe hitting 1 centimeter of this rock to make it go sideways. He actually bounced it off his own and left Ulsrud's stone at the back of the
Han har ingenting her.
four-footed shot.
Han
However,
klarer
there are an
dragninga der.
awful lot of red stones in.
Så det er mindre risk enn å
If they
legge
could
det.
ever get that yellow one out of there, they'd be in trouble, wouldn't they?
They're going to make sure they
Eller
put
hvis vi
this in
kysser
a
i den
spot
fronten.
where
Eller slå på gul inn i rød. Ja, han har en
We can't
slash
get
for
it
a
out.
million hvis
I think
vi
it's pretty
stopper
well guarded.
akkurat by
There's
4 der.
more stones up in front of the ones you can see there.
Aldri i verden.
Gar det her
So there's
oppe.
no angle on
Kan
that
man slå
stone
på
from the
foran her og
left
få den
side
gule,
as we
så
look
det er
at it. But Thomas will be trying to make sure he doesn't leave this one he's about to throw in a spot where it can be
Jeg tror gard er greit. Altså.
run in.
Det vil si han kan rønne den garden på den røde, da.
Or used for a double.
I think if he draws to the back of the forefoot and concedes the draw for 1,
Ja, det kan vi.
that would be a save. But if he ever left it at the top of the, he might leave it a situation where they might be able to bounce off it, hit the other red one and get them both out. So it's critical that they decide exactly where they can leave this one and exactly where they shouldn't
Ja,
leave
hvis
this
vi
one.
hvis vi slenger den i veggen, så drar den på igjen. Og det er kanskje greit.
Den
So
kan
all 4 of them are having a look because the brushers are going to be the ones sweeping this, and they want to be sure they know where it should go for depth.
Ja, ok.
One of the things you often hear coaches behind the glass talk about is the risk versus reward quotient. To try and determine that, what you actually get out of a shot, what you're going to accomplish. It's really important for teams to determine when they're making decisions like this.
What is the goal for
think
this
for the
end
ball,
was
bro.
to concede 1
Nå er
to
den inn,
to the Russians wasn't to steal. So he doesn't want to be too cute in trying to place this one perfectly, but rather place it in a spot that makes sure that the Russians don't
hvis
score
jeg
more
spiller
than
samme
one.
part som forrige her nå, så får dere, så er det dere som skal kuske. Nå vet dere, har dere jo litt peiling på siget da. Ja. Kom igjen da, vi gjør den her. Hæ? Helt sjuk mål. Nei, 0. Error.
Torger's come all the way down the ice now, just to discuss exactly what they need again.
Jeg tror det smarte valget er å garde. Ja, men den garden gir han på en måte ikke noe valg da. Han må rønne den, og da er det for 5 eller noe sånt. Da er kampen over.
Hæ?
Jo.
Hvis han mister litt på den, så kan du rønne ned på egen, så får vi 2.
What a mess.
So Thomas is going to go down and have another look at it. Perhaps he's noticed it. Maybe there's a long raise.
Høyt og langt ut!
Ingenting å gå på den garningen.
Nei.
Du må jo garde ingenting på kortsida å gå på. 90 på fronten, altså spiller litt ut, så er det tyngdeover for 100.
Ja, man kan gå direkte på den, tror jeg, hvis du gjør det.
As I say, there was no time clocks in this tournament, so
Hvordan kommer vi dit?
Stoppa her da!
Centerline.
Leggen der, hva er vitsen?
no one's going to walk out on the ice and tell them
Da ser jeg
to throw the next shot.
Gir han et slag på 4?
Hva skal du da sende i veggen?
Ja, nesten.
Det er jo det som er alternativet.
You see where Torger's standing, he's standing out near the line, so he's making sure they don't get anywhere near any guards. And even if Thomas comes wide open on the side, back side of the forefoot, I don't believe there's going to be any way to score 2.
Har du den farta i repertoaret? Ja, det har jeg. Kommer ut løs, og så kommer jeg til å flippe den litt, og han skal henge vidt ute.
This might be a slightly different speed of ice out here, though, so they'll have to be careful watching it go down.
Bør det være over?
Langt over. Wow! Langt over!
I think he's opted to play a guard, a long guard. Doesn't want to give them something that they could run in. But he might have done just that. They could actually use that yellow stone, run it into the house, onto the red stone at the top of the forefoot, and spill both yellows. And they're looking at it.
Ja, vi vet jo da, vi sier jo, altså det er jo...
They're looking at a number of different raises here. I think the yellow stone is perhaps easier because it's just one stone at the right angle.
Top, yeah.
I'm
The
not
one that
sure
Thomas just played.
the one that Thomas just threw up there, as you just saw, Jenny just angle.
Ja, fortsatt sperra dragninga, da det risk, for da det 2 stjern.
I think that might actually be the easiest.
The amount the curl the ice has as well is potentially.
That Yellowstone that Thomas did throw did cut off the draw. There's no draw to the forefoot, I don't believe.
No, it curls so hard across the
You
house
have to
there.
go
So.
outside of that stone to get to the forefoot. If you just missed the guard that Thomas just threw on the inside, it would touch one of the stones, the red stones on the center line before it got to the button. So he's successfully taken away their draw, but he's given them a stone they could potentially use.
It looks like one really likes to run back on the yellow, and the other one's looking at, can we maybe take a little piece of that yellow rock and forefoot and get around that and chip that off?
I'm not sure they could throw enough weight to get by that and move it far enough. I don't know if they could get to it with anything much more than hack weight, and I don't think hack weight hitting a couple inches of that stone is going to move it very far. So I think they're going to take a run at this. I don't think there's any danger of them giving up more than the one that's already sitting there. I can't see how they could possibly give up 2.
We were talking about risk versus reward. This is a time when you got to risk it all and go for it.
I don't think there's any
all
danger
shot
in
they
giving
have.
up a 2, but there's certainly an opportunity to get a
3.
4 or
Han
get
har
maybe a
sikkert
3,
prøvd den røde som
depending
Jan
on
finner,
the
liksom.
placement of that stone at the back of the 8 foot and the one at the front of the 8 foot.
Ah, ok.
Certainly 3 is possible.
Ja, det hadde ikke gått.
This is a high degree of difficulty shot, though. When there's that much space between the stones, you have to be absolutely precise on the first stone.
Så han skittet ut litt vel mye.
And he hit it too thinly. And Ulsrud, I'm sure, breathed a big sigh of relief. You can almost hear it up here. He steals one to go ahead 4-3 after 5 ends.
A little bit of update on the other sheets. Over on sheet 1, Swiss team
Fra en corner så synes jeg
Taking
tight
Eden
guard.
from Sweden.
Så han ikke får for lett.
Yeah, they're having a battle there.
Alle sverre på
3-3
matten.
tie. Adine has last stone playing the 6th end.
Sheet 2, you have Michel from Switzerland against Pfister from Switzerland. It's also a 3-2 game there. Seems to be our score going across the sheets. And they're also playing 6.
They're on skip rocks there in the 6th. And that big 6 sticking out there looks so funny on a scoreboard. But Murdoch's not willing to throw the towel in just yet, and he came back with a 2, and he'll be going all out now for the steal to try and get back into this game. He's down 6-3 without last stone, playing the 6th end. Back to our game, just starting the 6th end.
Einere Seie, hold
Team
on varm.
Ulsrud throwing first.
Hardt!
Looks like they're going to go right into the house now.
Hardt! Hardt, 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 hardt!
Force Team Drozdov to take some risks.
And Russia has a choice to either throw up a corner or
And of course,
hit it
as,
and keep it
as
playing
expected, they're going to throw corner guard up.
25, 6, 25.
it's maybe a good time to mention some of the curling tour events available to you from Curling's Champion Tour. Following up m.baden Masters, first weekend of October, we had the Swiss Cup in Basel.
Swiss Cup in Basel for the men, and the week after that will be the women taking the same ice in Basel for the women's Masters.
And the lead-off event for the women is Stockholm, and that's in September.
There's some events in Canada. I believe some of the teams will be heading to World Curling Tour event in Ontario next week. There's a number of Swiss teams heading to the Stu Sells tournament in Canada. And then coming up in 26th of September is an inaugural Stockholm Ladies Cup, I believe, with a new structure, and now a pooled event. I believe their former structure was a triple knockout. For the men, there'll be a Curling Masters Champery, the site of the European Championships this year. So I'm sure that'll be a well-attended event. And then a lot of the teams between will be heading to Canada to get into the World Curling Tour events, the multi events going on there across the country. And a lot of these teams travel there now to try and get as much experience as they can.
We also have a new division of the Champions Tour, the Challenge Series.
This is a challenge series for those teams that perhaps aren't ranked high enough to qualify for these upper echelon events. There's a challenge series where those teams can earn points to hopefully qualify for future events in the elite level of the Curling Champions Tour.
I know some of those events are still looking for teams. They've got an event in Dumfries, which is a men's event and a women's event for the Challenge Series. Denmark is still looking for teams. Thompson event here in Switzerland.
Championscurlingtour.com, I believe. We give you a list of events and the details about how you might enter any event that you're interested in competing in. Dumfries was the site of last year's World Senior Curling Championships and Mixed Doubles Championships. And they have an experienced committee and a great facility there in Dumfries.
Начало лайн.
Линия норма.
6,
Линии даже многовато.
Линии нету.
Воу, Женя. 8. Сип!
Женя, сыпь до конца.
Сип!
Давай, вали его.
Пошел, пошел! Давай, Жека!
Давай, еще. И до конца, до конца.
Drozdov
Давай, еще.
the Ulsrud stone at the top of the house and trying to get behind that corner guard.
They put up a nice corner guard and took advantage of the fact that it was there and used
You'll
it.
see that stone is half open. And now the team discussing how much weight to throw, how much speed to throw, and how much curl they're going to get on this particular spot. The guard is relatively long, so they don't have to get real close to it in order to make the shot.
Yep. Whoa, rent. 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 Whoa, whoa. Whoa, rullebud. Whoa. Whoa.
Cut that a little thin and rolls out.
And Alexei working hard to make sure that stone does not stay in the house and goes out of play. And they'll once again be trying to go behind that corner guard. They could, of course, go around the two yellow stones from the outside and try and put one on the button, but I think they feel it's a little early to do that. They don't want to have their stones congested in the forefoot and have the end closed down for them. So they're going to go to the bigger piece of ice and keep their scoring options a little more open.
This is Russia's skip. Drozdov throwing second stones. Nicely by that guard.
By the guard, unfortunately, not even the powerful sweeping of Peter Drone can get that one in the house. He may be the biggest curler on the Curling Champions Tour.
Yeah, he's not only tall. Some of the Dutch boys are pretty tall, but he's got the height and the size.
Oh, he's a very strong individual. I'm sure he could play lots of different sports and be successful at them. And I think when he leans on the brush to start sweeping, I think the brush is crying and perhaps the ice is actually whimpering a little bit too.
How effective can sweeping be, Al? How far can a good sweeper move a rock?
Well, I think probably not as far as it could in the old days. With the ice conditions being so good now and the stones being so good, the recent tests I've heard of is that probably 5 meters. 4 meters. 4 meters is probably the maximum. 3 or 4 meters is probably the maximum that two top sweepers with speed and downward pressure could take a stone.
Really has to be the combination for best effectiveness.
Yeah, best effectiveness is a short stroke in front of the running path. Probably only about a 10 to 15 centimeter stroke. And lots of downward pressure.
Jeg mistenker at det fra en viss bukse. Han fikk fra den gule buksa. Du må feste mikken din, Oddøyer. Den dere henger der. Man ikke slenger I...
Teams are now studying their brushing. They use
Det skal ligge der, egentlig. Det meningen, det en del av banen.
To sweep on, and they have brushes that will count the number of strokes you do and see how that decreases over time.
Yeah,
So they
infrared cameras and
test their fitness levels, and
Bra
test
linje
their
på nå.
downward pressure,
Foreløpig ligger han videre, gutter!
and make the
Ligger mye videre
appropriate
enn
changes
dragningen.
to their technique in order to maximize their effectiveness.
Hardt! Opp til
recovery
senter. Kom igjen,
testing
nå har
is
du
also
jobbet
quite
køen nå. Kom igjen!
important.
Kom igjen! Rekker. Bra.
And the sweepers will gear their summer training programs for fitness programs, off-season programs to mimic the physical expectations for view of a top competitive game.
Yeah, the teams have to be strong upper body strength and anaerobically fit, so they'll be training the anaerobic systems and doing some resistance training to build for muscles. You'll start to see front ends are some of the most fit athletes in the world. I know last year at the Olympics, when the Canadian front end from Brad Jacobs walked through the dining facilities, they got nothing but stares from everybody about their fitness level. These guys have huge arms and chests, and everybody said, "Those guys are curlers?" And they said, "Yes, they are." And they've set the bar for everybody else now. A couple of light shots by Team Drozdov has put them in a little bit of hole, and now Thomas has got an opportunity now to draw another stone in there on top of the one on the button and make it very, very difficult for Team Drozdov to even score one. If he can get this one right on top of the one that's already there, he'll have the pinhole covered, and you can't get closer than that.
And this is the time in the game when you see the experience from Team Ulsrud coming through, the patience that they take, and just waiting for their opportunities and recognizing when they come and taking advantage.
Yeah, they are probably one of the most patient teams out there. Realize that it's a long game and opportunities are there if you just are patient.
Fourth thrower, skip, Thomas Ulsrud for Norway.
Linje! 6-7. Han begynner å bli kommet opp fart!
Okay.
Ja.
No, they're working. Seem happy with the speed.
Bare fram! Ja.
Get it by this front guard and buried in behind. Just finished off a little too hard for them there.
Left that one a little bit. What happens is as the ice gets worn down by stones traveling over it and brushes going back and forth, it wears the pebble off, and sometimes the middle area gets a little bit flatter. And when it's flatter, there's more of the stone that's actually touching the ice, and sometimes late in the game, stones start to stop a lot more suddenly than they had when the pebble was fresh. Some teams refer to that as fudge because they feel it, the ice gets the consistency of fudge. It's a little bit soft. That's maybe a little bit of extreme description, but gives you the idea of what's actually happening out there.
The sweepers have to pay really close attention all the way to the end and finish. They let up a little bit, and there it went. You can lose a rock really fast when the ice conditions get that way.
Этот не зайдет сверху. Просто если мы здесь открываем ему, он сюда впихивает еще один. Опять везет сюда. Че? Давай как Жек говорит.
It's been a really great weekend here in Baden. They've hosted a really terrific event, great ice conditions, excellent food services, delivering transporting teams. They've got a really excellent volunteer committee, working hard, countless hours. So on behalf of all of us curlers and coaches out here, thank you to all the volunteers and committee for putting on and hosting such a great event year after year. You're really bringing championship curling to Switzerland.
Yeah, thanks to Philip Botter, president of the Baden Masters Organizing Committee.
Whoa, пока очень много, whoa! Поднять!
Sponsor hotel, Hotel du Parc, which is in Baden near the casino, which I'm sure a lot of the players gave the players something to do when they weren't playing.
Most of these events in the communities can't be hosted without great sponsorship and supporters.
Yeah, it takes an efficient organizing committee to handle all aspects, arranging accommodation for all the players, transporting them to and from hotels, food services, ice makers, all working together to make the event top-notch.
And not just only at the event, but leading up to the event as well. Had a little bit of miscue on Rush's last shot there. Pledge play it. The red went in and didn't quite get the line and went by. Left Ulsrud with another opportunity to tap up another yellow one, the one he just placed.
If Ulsrud can get this one into the top 4 foot behind that top yellow, he might steal a point or two and take total control of this game.
Han har jo ingen slag for en nå, annet enn å rønne en corner. Det nok is?
We have our first final. Team de Cruz, nice little promotion for 2 points in the 6th end. Give them an 8-3 lead, and Team Murdoch has surrendered, saying that's enough, gentlemen. So Team de Cruz, 8-3, and are the first team into the semifinals.
Definitivt lenger! Bak 10! Bakom 7! 6 nå, 6, 7, 6! Ja, kjør da, kjør!
Norway's was placed another one in around the 4 foot, just
Thomas
like Al suggested.
Placed that one almost perfectly.
Really nice timing on that come around sweep.
Great timing, great brushing by the sweepers, good line call. And it's put Team Drozdov in a big pile of trouble. 4 yellow stones and no way into the button.
He's going to try an in off of this outside red one. By the looks of it, it's a pretty far angle to go out. There's a guard up ahead of that.
There's a guard in front of that. I think they're going to try and actually angle it in. We're having a discussion about which stone to angle in.
In this case where all the red rocks are in their own way.
Skip Drozdov is called the outside one. Now he'll have to hit about a quarter of that stone with probably hack weight or more, maybe a bit more than hack weight, to get it into the button area. Again, high degree of difficulty on this shot. And if he doesn't make this one, this game is all but over.
Big score 4 if he doesn't get any line at all.
He really needs to score one here. Even getting a steal of 1 would keep him in the game, but a steal of any more than 1, and it's going to be very difficult for them to come back in this game.
He's not playing with a whole lot of weight, so he's obviously just trying to chip that in.
Yeah, I think he needs hack weight. Not curling. Didn't curl. And I think that'll be handshakes all around. It is. Ulsrud steals 4 for an 8-3 victory.
Thank you, good luck.
We have our second semi-finalist.
Good luck. Thank you, good luck. Good luck. Good luck.
And I believe Ulsrud will be taking on the Cruz. Sorry, let me just get this straight. The winner of quarterfinal
Не пошел, да?
for
Ты видишь, он остановился. Ну, вроде дернулся вначале.
Cruz is taking on the winner of
Ну, я понял, да. Да нет, бросок
Mikkel
сложный уже,
and
знаешь,
Fister.
такой.
Ulsrud will take on the winner of
Да, да, не в этом броске дело.
While you're checking that lineup there, Al, we'll just go over to highlight our sheet 1. We have RUS and Eden, 5-3. Eden took 2 in the 6.
And Team Mikkel in the 6th end hit a run back for a couple, but in making the run back, he actually killed a couple of his own stones and ended up only getting 1. So Sten Mikkel with a 4-2 lead. Here's our 2 finals. Ulsrud wins and De Cruz wins both by 8-3 scores. Team Murdoch has been eliminated, as has Team Drozdov. Ulsrud and De Cruz move on. So join us tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock a.m. Swiss time for the semi-final game.
Fin linje. Foreløpig er den i det glatte. Den er i glatte.
Thank you very much for
Suser i det
tuning
glatte.
in.
Ingenting.
We look forward to next event tomorrow morning, semifinals, 9 o'clock.
Pakke her hvis du...
Hvorfor kommer jeg lenger så lenge langt?